Hi, everybody. For those of you who happen to go live, this is totally unplanned. Okay, I didn't mean to go live today, so I didn't schedule this way in advance. But there are a lot of questions on my Instagram asking about personal branding, which I thought I should address all together in a live video and probably take on more questions from you guys as well. So I'm going to say hi first to everybody. And for those of you who happen to go live, please feel free to drop in the chat, say who you are, what you do, and where you're logging on from. Perfect. So just making sure that my audibility is perfect. I just want to ask whether you all can hear me loud and clear. So if you can hear me loud and clear, you can say, yes, I can hear you. So today's video is of course talking about personal branding, especially online personal branding on LinkedIn. So just a little bit about my background. I am a personal branding coach, and I not only educate the clients, but most of the time I actually educate professionals. So people who want to start their side hustle and becoming a personal branding coach, I actually qualify them all the modules in personal branding and help them earn and start a lucrative income as a personal branding coach themselves. So whether they do it as a side hustle or as a full-time job, basically that's what I love doing. So for me, I find that my efforts in personal branding on LinkedIn has been successful so far, and which is what you can see from today with the number of followers, a high level of engagement that I have on my LinkedIn. But it's not just about what you see. To be honest, from my personal brand over the last 4 years that I was on LinkedIn, I was able to do a lot more things because I'm an entrepreneur by profession. So not per se as a coach. So I actually managed to raise successful capital funding, franchise my business, win big clients, all through LinkedIn and all through my personal branding. So I'm a very strong advocate of personal branding. And I think all of you should start exploring deeper on what your personal brand can do for you and can really take you. But first, of course, you want to ask yourself, where do you want to be in the next 5 years? And that's how you're going to maneuver your way using your personal brand, putting out the right content, attracting the right audience, engaging the right community in order for you to be perceived the person you want to be. So for the community to see you as that person you want to be in the next 5 years, so that is where the direction is going to eventually take you. So when people recognize you as an expert, as a board of authority, as somebody they can trust with the problem they have that you have the solutions and expertise for, then obviously they are going to engage your services. And that's when the lucrative part comes. Okay, so perfect. I'm gonna say hi and I'm gonna answer some questions that I got from Instagram. So for those of you who doesn't know, I actually have an Instagram, Lisa Kleng, that you can just go on Instagram, find my name, and you can follow me there. So sometimes I ask the followers over their questions, what they want to know about personal branding, and I consolidate the questions and I try to answer them together. So usually I would do it in a video form and share it, but today I thought, hey, why not? It's a Sunday, maybe somebody who has some free time at home. Why not we just log on LinkedIn and share it live? And if you have any questions about what I share, or if you have any questions of your own about personal branding, I want to hear them. Okay, so feel free to type in the chat. You can tell me about what your issues are personal branding, what's limiting you from putting yourself out there, and what is it that you don't know about personal branding. So maybe if there's time, I also show you the different levels of personal branding. And I don't want you to be scared, but there's actually 7 levels. And most people are on the level 1. But we're going to go through all the 7 levels if we have time today to explain, so you know where you want to go and what your personal branding can take you. All right, thank you so much. Okay, from Cyberjaya, thank you so much for joining us. Effendi from India, thank you so much. Parameswari from Malaysia, thank you for logging in. Also from Cambodia, from Indonesia. Okay, so it's perfect. Okay, for one or two of you, a bit weird your messages, but okay. Jakarta, India. Okay, pretty much the same countries as well logging in. Of course, it's our time zone in Asia. Let's start with the first question. Okay, so you guys, actually, these 4 people asked me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, okay, about what is personal branding. Now, feel free, for you who's joining us right now, feel free to answer this question as well. Now, personal branding has different definition for different people. But it's like success, some people's definition of success is not the same as another person's definition of success. So personal branding can be different definitions. So what's your definition? That's something I want to know as well. Okay, so type in a comment on what you think is personal branding. And here's what my definition is. And this question is asked from Albert Egber from my Instagram. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, guys, feel free to chat. Okay, let me know. And what is personal branding to you? So my definition is going to be really simple, but I think you're going to get it when I explain it to you. So personal brand, okay, is basically an identity you showcase to the world, which is something you want people to see. Now, all of us have strength and weakness. We suck at some things and we're good at some things, but our personal brand of what we put out there is a visualization, a perception that we're trying to create among the community around us of what we want to ourselves to be, remembered by. So let's say we want to touch a lot more on our strength and talk less about our weakness, then that perception that is obtained by the people around us from our personal brand is gathered from the strength that we keep on repeating. Okay, so you have the power to do this personal branding, which is your identity that you want to showcase to the world. So, how do you want people to remember you? Okay, so maybe not the good sides of you, but the good, and maybe not the bad sides of you, sorry, but the good sides of you. So, you want to tell people that you're probably generous, you're helpful, you're hardworking, you're going beyond. So, these are the attributes that you want to repeatedly mention, because when you do that, that actually starts to develop a perception in the people's minds who is following your status, who is following your journey and story. So all you do is feed them enough information until their mind is actually able to establish an identity of you. And this identity that they have in their mind is 90% dictated by the content you put out there. So imagine if you want to let people know that you are kind-hearted, you are generous, and you are smart, and you keep on emphasizing those attributes that you genuinely carry, their personal brand is strong enough to develop in the minds of other people to remember you as exactly that. And then you can then use that perception that they have of you to then develop other things, start a lucrative income, upsell your services. So all the things that can happen because of the trust that's established by the personal brand you create in the perception of people. Now, this could be a good game, and this could also be a dangerous game, because a lot of people are sometimes not putting out the real them. So what happened is we believe, okay, the identity that they showcase themselves to be, which could also be far from the truth, especially if we have no way of validating that personal brand in person. So imagine that person is somewhere in Greece, okay, and that person is a person, a coach probably selling a program over $20,000, okay, and you are brought into the perception, okay, you are sold into the perception that this person is reliable to actually educate you in a specific area. But knowing after you make the transaction, okay, after you feel you've built the trust with the right people, that person turned out to be bogus. So this is a typical example of how dangerous this game can actually be. So if you want to do it, especially with us professionals, I want you to consider your personal brand and something a big part of you. It is very important, especially as we are older and wiser. The impression of other people have on us actually sticks around us for a very long time. We might think that it doesn't bother us, but consciously, as well as the community can be small online, where people can talk about how happy or unhappy they are with you. So it is very important that you build your personal branding the way you want to showcase to your business, obviously to speak good things of yourself. Make sure that they're also something you practice in person, so that whenever people do see you in person, they don't see a big difference between how you portray yourself online and how you appear offline. Okay, so that is personal branding. Now, the benefit of personal branding is if you actually step out and put your personal brand out there, you dictate the narrative of yourself. Now, some people don't feel that personal branding is important, which is completely okay. Now, remember, if you're not saying about yourself, you can't expect other people to say good things about you. They do if they want to, but it's not consistent, and you are unable to influence them to keep on talking about you. So you are the one who actually need to step up to mention the things that you can do in order to win your customers. But also remember, there are people who might not like you. So this is social media. When you have people who don't like you, they start to say things that they don't agree with you, okay, or things that are unhappy with you. And it may or may not be true, but it also mean it could be entirely 100% your opinion. But if you are not saying something on your end, if you are not dictating the narrative of your personal brand, then other people who are interested to do business with you or doing research on you, their due diligence on you, they're actually seeing all the negative things other people see, because those people who said negative things about you on social media actually made time to dictate your personal brand for you, but not in a good way. Not in a good way. So that's why personal branding is something you need to do, and it's no longer a choice. Honestly, I personally feel that is essential. So even if you're not after any opportunities, let's say you have a $5,000 income per month, and you're like, oh, you know what, Lisa, I'm not looking for a new job. I'm not trying to attract a new employer. I'm not running a business or having investments. So I don't see why I need to do a personal brand. So the reason why you do personal brand is so that you can dictate the narrative of how good you are in your job, in your position for your company, and the things you accomplish while you are in employment. It's very important because one day you might decide to leave your job, or one day a colleague might talk bad about you, or someday, you might have a negative feedback from a client. But all of that won't make sense if somebody who does the research on you realize how much you have updated over the many years while you're in employment doing amazing good things. People will close an eye for any small percentage chances that you didn't do well, because you narrate the entire narrative of your story, dictating the flow and direction of how people should remember you by. All right, so that is my definition. A bit lengthy there, I know, but this is why it's very serious. Now, take a look at some answers. Kishantra says things to do to establish our brand so people would remember and come back to us. Okay, this is going to lead to my next question as well, which I'm going to elaborate on this point. Okay, so remember, personal branding is your identity that you want to showcase to yourself. Now, you don't have to be too vulnerable. I want to say, okay, you don't have to tell your most saddest story, or that you mental depression level. It's up to your comfort level. If you're not comfortable with sharing certain parts of your life, they should and always should remain private to you. The purpose of personal branding doesn't mean that you have to uncover all your dark, dirty secrets and past skeletons in a closet, but it is about showcasing strength. So even if you go through something difficult in your past life, but the way you write, that you recover or overcome those challenges, the objective of the message you put out is to instill confidence and motivation to people who happen to be in the same spot as you before. Okay, so that is the purpose of personal branding, to trigger enough emotions using your past, okay, or your present, or your vision for the future, so that people feel it's valuable to be connected to you. And that's when trust builds over time and transactions do happen. Okay, perfect. We got some questions from the audience, but I'm going to skip first to the questions on Instagram. Okay, so let's go to the next question on Instagram. Now, this question is asked by Howard. So Howard is also one of my connections on LinkedIn. Howard, if you happen to be online, say hi. He asked, whether do you think that personal branding is here to stay? Now, personal branding, I hope you're not surprised when I tell you this. Personal branding is a practice, okay, an act that has been around forever. Everyone has done personal branding, whether physically in person, very light on the surface, or very intense, okay, over years with a particular person or group of person. Now, personal branding is how people do things together. Okay, it doesn't have to be business. Okay, it could be a relationship as well. So you can imagine, if people don't put their personal brand starting from your personal face, you're actually talking to somebody with a paper bag over their head. That doesn't happen, right? Imagine somebody with a paper bag coming to you and said, hey, can I have $50? So most of the time you're like, I don't trust you, I don't know who you are. So everybody who showcase their face in every conversation, in every story they tell, in every connection they meet in person for business or personal, these are all part of personal branding. The only challenge that's happening right now is personal branding has elevated to an online presence. And the difference, there is subtle difference, but the major difference would mean that when you're online, you're actually conversing and you're playing, I want to say game, but it's not really a game. Okay, it sounds like a negative word. You're exercising personal brand on a far more people at the same time. So physically, normally, right, it's impossible to do personal branding. Okay, to put yourself out there, to showcase yourself to a crowd of more than 50 people, unless you are the keynote speaker or you have individual. If you're a keynote speaker, you know that if you're in a keynote speaker, right, you cannot connect heart to heart with everybody. So probably a small percentage of the people in the crowd would actually have a heart to heart response, okay, from what you share on stage. But on social media is different. Even though there is 1,000 people who's reading your content, there could be as much as 500 people to actually feel heart to heart from what you say. So making your personal brand effort really, really strong. So personal branding last time is in person, which is easier, and now it still happens. But now personal branding is elevated to a virtual space. In a virtual space, you're connecting with far more people, you're having conversations multiple at the same time, and you're building trust, and you're parking all the seeds of trust in as many people as possible on a daily basis. On my LinkedIn alone, right, in every year I hit about 100 million non-unique reach. That means every day I have about 50,000 to 100,000 people lingering on my profile, reading on my posts, and this is the opportunity for me as a public figure to influence this many people positively, of course. And at the end of the year, I would have reached out to 100 million people who either read my message, even though maybe not all of them are responding or reacting to my post, but 100 million people read it. And think about that in a physical setting. There is no way, even if we talk to somebody every minute of the day, there is no way physically we would able to reach that number, which is why online personal branding is slightly a different game. It is a better game, to be honest, because we've seen more people make a lot more money without ever appearing physically. They're probably living remote somewhere, living a nomadic life, and they're handling clients. They're networking on social media, but you never see them in person having a meeting with you. So it is possible because the game has changed, the game of business. So that's why personal branding has always been around, probably during Caesar times. Okay, it's been around. And of course, because that is just how humans work with each other, where we need to see a face to build a trust. So it will always stay forever. And now that we enter into a social media era, I don't know what's the era after social media. Okay, so after online connections and virtual communities, I don't know what's the next level to it. Okay, but I would say that it can only, I would say that this dimension of virtual connecting is just going to continue to explode and expand with more people making money online, connecting online, and running businesses just by being online. So as you know that now what we need more important than food is Wi-Fi. So we need to be connected with the world, and we satisfy that social part of us even without having to go out and meet somebody in person, but just having connections and conversation on the social internet. Okay, so personal branding is not going away. So the problem is if you're not doing anything about it, then everyone else is actually advancing with putting their personal brand online. So you're going to be behind. So just imagine if you're a business person and then 10 years later you go, how come I don't have as much clients as her? And her, as in your competitor, would probably have hit 100,000 followers and connecting and closing contracts every single week. And you couldn't do that. It's because you're limiting yourself from putting yourself out there and getting that massive reach as how she does it. Okay, so personal branding is here to stay, which is why I really encourage you to start making the investment to learn the basics at least. I do have self-paced program that you can learn at your own time for $99. Get my modules, my notes, and exercise it for yourself. But I also do coaching if you want to become a personal branding coach, or if you want to become an expert, or if you want to become a public figure as using your personal brand. I have all those programs which you can get in touch with me. Okay, let's take a look at some of the comments. Thank you so much. Thank you, Raisin, for joining. I'm surprised you're on YouTube. I didn't actually promote this. So I'm on YouTube right now, on Facebook group, as well as on LinkedIn. All right. Before I go on to the next question, you know what? Maybe we can take some questions from the floor. So hi, Felix from Myanmar. My question to you is, can you please suggest any tips for someone who's trying to be a career coach? Well, if you're talking from the element of personal branding, if you want to showcase yourself as a career coach, which is a very, very nice and noble profession where you help people identify job opportunities or prepare themselves for the dream job that they want. So for me, always your content should be around the line of what you can do to help people achieve that they can for themselves. Now, remember, they are, as a career coach yourself, you know what are the things you can do to people, but you also know what people can do for themselves, which means they can be resourceful and find enough information to do it. But your unique selling points will be the things that they cannot do for themselves. So this is what you need to highlight, okay? Your unique selling point that you come with that can help these people actually find, the jobs that they want. Okay, and also if you have very good stories where you help a client identify or define the kind of dream job that they want, and tell that case as a case study of a story that you're helping somebody else worked out who they want to be in the next 5 years. This is a story that you want to tell. Now remember, the things that you put out on social media, especially if you want to promote your services or business, it should never be outright selling. What it should be is situation and storytelling that people can imagine themselves in the story. So if you're talking about a client that you helped, within 3 months, that person managed to land their dream job and earning six-figure digits per year. So this is an amazing testimonials you want to write, okay, of how you contributed to her success, what were you doing with this particular client, and all of this will tell us a lot about how committed you are to see people's success and the proven and shown results. So that way, other people who are struggling in their job, okay, looking for opportunities but don't know where to start, can read your story and feel that, you know what, I think I trust this guy to do the same for me. And that's what you want to achieve, making people take the action to suddenly engage you without wasting any more time. So try to put out content where people can relate, resonate, and imagine themselves in the situation. And therefore, your story feels so surreal to them. It gives them a dream, a vision of what they can also achieve should they engage your services. A lot of service providers did the mistake by putting value adding content of something that the clients can fix for themselves. Now you have amazing things, and remember, you have a lot of competitors and you have a lot of peers. So you want to identify what are the key areas that you can deliver slightly different. Okay, maybe because you have an amazing network of recruitment companies with you. So that means you are at an advantage compared to a career coach who doesn't have connections in the recruitment space. So you want to think about your strong pursuits, your strong traits, your strong suits, and then share them so that people know that you're not just another career coach. Now, if you want to use LinkedIn for prospecting, on the other hand, you should use keywords. So when people are looking for a job, they're always looking for words like open for job opportunities, open to work, career opportunities. So these are all the keywords, the hashtags that you can actually use when you do LinkedIn search function. So type in the search function and you start seeing clients will pop up. You can then filter them by country, by first, second, or third connections, by company, whatever that you like. And then once you segregate into the final list of people after you filter them, these are your potential prospect that you can directly approach on LinkedIn. Okay, but remember, if you want to directly approach them, there's also a strategy for that to appear subtle and not too outright selling. So this is something I recommend having a coach to guide you through with strategy prospecting on LinkedIn. Right. So the next question, I hope that helps. Now, how can one be an entrepreneur while studying in college? So actually, I think this is something you can Google. It's not really about personal branding. So to be an entrepreneur, the easiest business, especially for a student, is a dropshipping business. So what we also call affiliate marketing. So you can sign up under Amazon or big marketplaces who's constantly looking for affiliate marketing, where people such as yourself need to actively promote the product that you want to sell or to your network. And whenever there's a transaction via a dedicated link, you actually earn the commission from 4 to 10% of every product sold from your social media strategy efforts. But the good thing is there's no hassle with keeping stock and whatsoever. So if you're a student, there's many affiliate marketing programs that's completely free to sign up with Zalora, Lazada, Flipkart, Amazon. Just find out more information, be a little bit more resourceful, and that should be the start for you to explore entrepreneurship, especially from the level of social selling. So what is the best platform? Do you recommend Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok? Honestly, I have all of them. But here's the trick. I don't do the same for all of them. So you need to identify who are your target audience before you actually put in effort in social media. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about how I do it. So as an entrepreneur, I actually run a beauty network where we educate women to become very good social sellers and they're resellers of beauty products. So every time they promote on social media, they actually earn a commission, like a drop shipping model as well. So these are the people that I don't find on LinkedIn. I need to find these stay-home mothers, these mompreneurs, people looking for side income, students who are good in social media. So I need them in quantity as well. So I go to Facebook, appearing as a beauty influencer and encouraging people to be like me. So when you go to Facebook, I'm not a CEO, I'm not a personal branding coach. On Facebook, I'm a beauty influencer. I do almost every day beauty products review. I do tutorials of makeup, and this is why you see me often dressed up. It's actually not for LinkedIn. I dressed up because I always do makeup tutorials for my Facebook community because I want them to remember me as a person enthusiastic about beauty and skincare. That's how they're going to be. Oh, I want to be like her. I want to make money like her as a beauty influencer. And that's how I win them over on Facebook. On LinkedIn, on the other hand, I initially came here because I wanted to attract investors. So I came from an entrepreneurship point of view. And after 3 years, I did so well with my personal brand that I was getting a lot of inquiries of people asking me to write modules so they can learn and exercise the same strategy I did to build a personal brand, which I've done for the last 1 year since pandemic. So that's why I'm also a personal branding coach here, taking questions as well. So that's how I appear on LinkedIn as a CEO, entrepreneur, and personal branding coach. And then I went on TikTok just 2 days ago because I also have a business which I started day one. So my first business is actually selling hair accessories made out of ribbons. I know you forgot like what kind of business is that? I was a stay-home mom for 7 years. So when I started my first business, I don't have a business acumen. I don't have a degree. I don't speak very well. So I'm thinking, what kind of business can I have? The fact that I don't have any talent. So my first business, just a little bit of backstory. In 2010, I was actually importing ribbons, gross grain ribbons, and I learned on YouTube how to make them into hair accessories, and I sell it on social media. But and then 3 months later, department store starts calling in. So within 1 year, we entered 54 department stores from Toys R Us, OG, John Little, Metro Jaya, and we supplied to 9 countries, and it became a 6-digit company in 1 year. And I was a stay-home mom beginning of the year, so you can imagine how wild of a ride that has been. But I love this company so much because it gave me more opportunities. It allows me to buy my first home. It allows me to raise capital investment. It builds trust with my investors that can go on to build other things. So I never sold this company. So I'm still running it until today, where I actually make bows and I lead a team of designers as well to make these hair accessories, and we ship globally. So I use TikTok for that. So I use TikTok to showcase very small videos of us in action, gluing stuff, designing all these hair accessories. See, I have some with me today, which I'm doing. So that's how I do it in TikTok. And the reason why I do it is because people love to see things things are being done in the back end behind the scenes, and people, especially women and mothers, are very interested because they find it therapeutic to actually learn craft. So that's why I use it very differently. So for your case, you need to first have clarity and define who are your target audience is, and then ask yourself a couple of questions. Number one, what is their go-to platform on a daily basis? Would they most likely download TikTok because is there anything on TikTok that would interest them? Or these people, okay, their mind capacity only wants to be involved in very serious business articles, posting more genuine connections for business. B2B platform would make sense then, which means LinkedIn would be the best choice. If you're selling a product, let's say you have a side business that sells home decoration products, then these people that you want to target is most likely on Instagram. So people are always looking for products which has a very good visual medium to attract them. So if you're selling a product that has a nice visual medium, so products, you want to target those consumers on Instagram. Now, if you run a small scale coaching program, so your coaching program or your business is 500 or less, okay, you're selling a $97 business ticket. So these are for small scale business owners. They're not necessarily on LinkedIn. They are actually on Facebook. So you have to go Facebook to target SMEs if you want to upsell all these kind of small tickets business programs. So if you have a coach, obviously your coach will help you to identify the crowd of area, but identifying the platform is only stage one. Which next goes on is about the kind of content, keywords to use, and the format of how you should write on these platforms should be different, targeting the different mindset of people when they enter these platforms. So there's a lot to go deep, but definitely start with clarifying yourself. What is the target audience? And think very specific: gender, location, income bracket. Okay, so industry. Think as very specific as possible so that you can go niche on the right platform. All right, so I'm gonna answer an Instagram question right now. From Sanjay Verma. Why personal branding in the future? Going back to the question before that, when Howard was asking why personal branding is here to stay, and I said that personal branding has been around forever and it will go around forever. Whether it's virtual, maybe if social media disappears another day, we still have to do personal branding in person. Okay, personal branding is just having connections, conversations, transactions with somebody you can put a face to. somebody that you sort of maybe know a little bit about a history, somebody that you believe or you trust in the traits or attributes that they have. Okay, why personal branding in the future? Because that is still going to be the continual way of doing business. Okay, I need to be able to see you, believe you, trust you. Maybe I'll do a research on you a little bit in order for us to do business together. If you've never seen me, probably never hear my voice, you don't know my level of knowledge, you don't know my depth of expertise, you don't know my track records, then most likely you're not going to hire me as a coach. But if you know all that, that information helps you justify whether this person is somebody you want to work with in the future. So that means my personal brand works effectively. Okay, and question from Instagram: how long does it take from the beginning of one's journey till getting a handful of clients? Now, I get it. I get it. If we're investing time on a daily basis, putting out creative content, curating storytelling content in order to win connections, we obviously want to reap the benefits, okay, with the harvest of all that effort. And a lot of people do ask me this question when I'm coaching them: when will I make money? I get it. There's nothing wrong with it because we're business people, especially if we're using LinkedIn specifically, is because we want to end up monetizing, and we want to monetize as soon as possible. Okay, we don't want to spend 3 years building our personal brand and not making a cent. And social media is definitely, I tell you without a doubt, it's definitely the place where money can flow. Okay, whether for you to someone else or someone else to you, transactions happen. Now, last time, I know it's a bit weird, right? Because like I would never send money to a stranger I never met before. But we live in a different time. In this time, there could be investors I've never met who would transfer a six-digit figure to my company as an investment. Okay, so you know how it's very different now. I'm just saying that people do not equate social media connection, okay, any less than a physical connections. People will make the same decision to transfer 5-digit numbers or 10-digit, 6-digit numbers across to someone else, regardless whether they had a physical connection with this person before or not. So this is exciting, and it will continue. And I'm not talking just about me, okay? If you look about successful people as YouTube subscribers or Twitch or people who are online who have millions of followers, they make huge loads of money, but never seeing the person who pays them. Okay, so now if you want to make money, actually it's very, very fast. Okay, but it depends on how well you do at stage one. Stage one is about gathering the right network. After you gather the right network, which means you have already identified who you want to attract, so you put out content to attract them, content that interests them. But the moment they hang around in your network, stage two will kick in, which is when you have to nurture. So after you win people over, you want to keep on telling them, okay, in different styles, okay, letting them know about what you're good at, your area of expertise, your track record. So what you do is feeding them information to continue to build trust within this niche market. So you already got the niche market in, probably 100 people or 1,000 people on social media, and then you continue to nurture them. Even though at the same time you're acquiring new connections, at the same time you're also nurturing the current connections to keep them engaged, to keep them lingering, especially to keep them informed of what you do for a living, until that perception that they have of you cannot disappear. They will always remember, Lisa, always an entrepreneur, a mompreneur, she's a CEO, she's a personal branding coach. People don't forget once they establish a perception of you. So this is exactly what's going to happen if you nurture them properly. Now, if you fail in stage one, which is actually gathering the right audience, and you realize, I'm just about numbers, I'm just going to go on LinkedIn and ask, hey, anybody wants to connect, let's just add each other. That should never be the way. If you're trying to attract everybody, you're attracting nobody. So therefore, stage one has to be very clear. And even though it's not going to be fast, but Lisa, I don't even have 10,000 followers this last year. Now, when targeting a niche market, it will never be fast, okay? If you want to go for quality, it will always take time. If you're going after quantity, let's say you have a community-based marketplace, you just need numbers because you want more people to set up an account on your marketplace, then you can go quantity. But if you're trying to make money, it's always quality. So in terms of quality, you have to target right, which is stage one, gather, and stage two is nurture. So then you have to nurture right. If you don't nurture right, or you disengage people halfway, then people stop creating a perception of you. They move on to another person, another competitor of yours who's more engaging than you. Believe it or not, people's attention span is very short. So if you're not engaging, they leave your social circle. And therefore, half the work of you, what you have done to kind of influence them, just gone to waste. So you have to take this nurture nurturing part through and through till the end, until people in your network have no choice but to establish a perception and impression of you that you want to achieve for yourself. You want them to remember you like this. That's exactly you want to achieve at the end of the nurturing process. Now, after the nurturing process, okay, so the tough stages is the nurturing as well as the gathering. The third process is offer. So you cannot just offer as is what you like. You need to identify the problems of the people in your niche market in order to offer them something that matches exactly to the problems that they have, which means you need to have the conscious desire to listen to what their actual problem is and then craft something unique. And people need to feel that. They need to feel that what you're crafting to them is something unique. So that's why a lot of people don't like to share their prices on social media, especially if they're offering a service or they're offering a program most of the time, because it is tailor made. It will be customized later on after hearing the pain points of the client, customize it to the actual client. Now, the offer part is actually simple. You just need to be creative. But the offer part will not work if the nurture part and the gathering part did not flow successfully. If you fail to gather the right people or you fail to nurture them to create an amazing impression of you, then offer will be difficult. So if you successfully gather the right people and you have nurtured them smartly in a way that they remember you as an authority, as an expert, as somebody of preference compared to other peers and competitors in the industry, then definitely you are ahead. Okay, you will be first priority. And when you make that offer to them, it's usually typically a fast done deal. Now, how fast can this happen? 3 months. So the earliest that can happen if you seriously take charge of your personal branding is 3 months. Now, for some of my clients, it happened earlier, which is amazing. Okay, some of my clients would hit as 30,000 revenue. I think one of my clients in one of my mentees in Hong Kong, she started a personal branding program with me, and within I think a month, she actually got clients. 3 business calls, and 2 of them materializes, and it became a $30,000 invoice for her. Okay, so it depends on what you offer as well, and the community and your clients, if they're readily available and ready to pay for your service at that point of time. Okay, so that depends. I would say in average is about 3 months. Some people can do it lesser, especially with a coach to guide them, and some people will take longer, especially if they're trying to figure out for themselves. So that's a good thing about having a coach, right? Because some people say, oh, I don't need a coach. I know what personal branding is. I'm just going to post stuff every day. That is actually 30% of the work. 30% of the work is curating content, storytelling, and putting it on social media, accompanied by visual medium. 70% of the work includes measuring key metrics, okay, prospecting subtly and properly, okay, how to identify prospect, when to convert an online to an offline relationship, customizing business offer, content for value-adding nurturing. So all this part comes at a 70% in order for your personal brand to actually be lucrative. And a lot of people don't know how to do the 70%, which is why they're wondering how come I put myself out there every day and there's no engagement, no interest, no inquiries, no prospects, and no bookings. That's exactly because the 70% of the job is missing, and the 70% of the job is actually the back end. Nobody sees you do this publicly on the surface. So that's why having a coach would help you deep dive into what are the strategy best for your business to acquire the leads or the customers or the connections that you want for your career progression. Okay. Let's see if we can take another question. How can we add value to a community while showcasing our personal branding? Now, Farihan, that's a very good question. So I want you to think personal branding, not just as a brand. I want you to think of a personal element. Now, we are made of more than just our face. Okay, we are made of our face, of our voice, of our opinions, of our experiences, of our track records, about our hobbies, our interests. So these are what we made of. As long as our content that we share with the community carries a personal element of us, which is any of what I've mentioned earlier, it actually contributes to our personal brand in the long run. So I'm going to give an example, okay? Just an example. So a lot of people think, oh, I need to talk about my vulnerable stories and put my picture there all the time. Not true. Sometimes you read an article, and that article that you read, okay, somewhere else from Forbes magazine or something, and you read that article, you go like, oh my God, this article impacts me. It adds value to me. And so you want to share that same value to your community. So even though the article was not written by you, but you share that article in your community and you add on your personal thought, your personal opinions about the article, or your personal takeaways, okay, that actually you apply and probably even give you results for your life. you can add that to your post. So what you do is two things. You add value to your community, the same way the article has add value to you, but you add on a personal element of you, which is your personal thoughts about that particular article, which tells that you are, sincerely sharing it, and that contributes to your personal branding. Okay, so for example, again, you want to add value by sharing people tips. Okay, tips about how they can do well in a certain thing like digital marketing. So you want to give people tips. Oh, here are the 10 tips, okay, that you should apply in digital marketing. Now people can Google these tips. Okay, they can Google it elsewhere, which is why after you share those 10 tips, you need to also include a paragraph to talk about your personal experience exercising these tips that you just share. You can't be sharing tips that you don't apply for yourself, right? Most of the time we are advocate for the things that's happened for us. So when we try these strategies and it worked really well, that is when we want to share these strategies with the community. But when we do that, we should not stop at just telling them content that they can apply, but also include a personal branding element of us, which is our experience when we exercise these exact strategies we advocate for today. Okay, so that is just two examples I want you to think about. Every time you want to share a value, something you read somewhere else, a picture or a poster that you found on Instagram that you think is going to motivate your community, or something, a tip or strategy in your business, helping people how to, for example, manage your personal finance, tips on how to build your wealth, anything you want to share that can add value to them, remember to include at least one paragraph of a personal branding, personal element of you, your thoughts, your experience, your track records, your interests, your love. How do you, if you want to talk about finance, okay, how people should manage their personal finance. Maybe you can talk about experience how you struggle managing your personal finance and how that got you into a bad state. So when you give this kind of experiences, a personal element of you, then people could bond with you at the same time, adapting, absorbing the information that you share with them. Perfect. The next question is, what time of content? Is this time or type? I'm not sure. Is this time or type? Okay, if you're talking about time of content, now I would recommend that the best time to actually post is during lunch hours following your time zone. But this is only provided you are targeting people around your time zone. So if you're in Asia and you're targeting people in the US, obviously you need to capture them in the US lunch time zone. But in order for that to be really effective, you need to first build enough US connections in LinkedIn, because they need to first see your post as first connections before other connections in the US is able to see your post. Sounds a little bit complicated, but honestly, the algorithm works such that when you put out a content post on LinkedIn, its validity period is about 48 hours, its lifespan. And how well it lasts or how viral it can become depends on the first 6 hours after the post is put out, and it entirely depends on the reactions of your first connections. That's why I say if you don't attract the right people in your first connections, they are not going to react to your post because they absolutely don't care about you, then you'll never be able to trigger algorithm to make your content go viral and reach out to more people. So what time of content is definitely lunchtime, where people check on their phone, and after that that content stays for at least 24 hours before people log on. Now I know people say, but LinkedIn is 24 hours, we can post anytime. LinkedIn is 24 hours, but no one is awake 24 hours, okay? I just want to be very clear. At the end of it, people are going to log out of LinkedIn. Okay, maybe yes, after dinner, they'll come back. Maybe some of us go back and read a couple of articles, but at some point, most people, which is technically we sleep around the same time, 10 to 1 a.m., okay? So most people are going to leave this platform. So if you're going to post a content at 9 p.m., it's probably going to get less attraction unless it's really empowering, okay? So it can trigger reactions of the first 10 people who watch this. But if you put a generic content at 9 p.m., it has no reaction because 2 hours later, people are going to bed. They log out of LinkedIn. But if you put at 12 noon, okay, and people are busy scrolling between 12 to 1 during lunchtime, what will we do during lunchtime anyway? So we'll be scrolling through during lunchtime. So we trigger the reactions of your post, and then your post stays active for at least 6 more hours in business hours. And then after business hours, some people would still go on LinkedIn on the way back from home from work and 1 hour before they go to sleep. So you get the residue of attention until everybody logged out for the rest of the day. So try it. Try a post it at 9 p.m. and then the next day post it at 12. And some of you say, why can't we post at 9 a.m.? I mean, we would have longer business hours, right? Now, people rush to work, okay? If you post something at 9 a.m., okay, it gets when people go to work and start their job, right, the first thing they need to do before they actually linger on LinkedIn or whatever, take time on social media, is to find business. So the first 3 hours of a working day, typically people are looking for connections specifically to their job and business. There are salespeople who's passing on leads so they can have follow-ups later on in the afternoon. So the first 3 hours is particularly very hectic because a professional has target goals to achieve for their business or for their own business. So therefore, getting their attention to spend time to read and analyze your content word for word, it's going to be hard. But by 12 o'clock, that's when people have a break. They have a hectic morning and they've already sent out all their leads, their quotations, and whatnot. So 12 o'clock, they take a pause and a breather, and that's when they will identify your post. Okay, in the afternoon, their job is a little bit more relaxed because they're following up on the leads and quotations they sent across, taking a couple of calls. But morning is usually pretty hectic because as professionals, as you know, we have targets and KPIs that we need to achieve. For me as well, I like to do all the things I need to do to make money. So 12 o'clock, I can do whatever I like. Okay, so therefore, that is the behavior. So social media, in this instant, the clue here is it's not just about the platform itself. Remember, the platform is run by people who establish the algorithms and people who are giving attention on this social media platform. So you need to think about the behavior of people, putting yourself in their shoes. If you're a professional, how is your first 3 hours at work like? Hectic, right? You're rushing to work, you need to get a coffee, you say hi to your colleagues, you need to look at all the emails that came through. You have no time, okay, to delve into a content of a social media post. Okay, so therefore, this is something you do after 12. Okay, so if you know the way people behave, you definitely can work the rules around it. Okay, so you just need to know how people behave and the type of people that you're trying to attract. If you're attracting people specifically in a certain country, learn a little bit more. Ask a couple of people about how people there behave, what kind of contests or campaigns that actually triggers people there to react. And it will be different for different countries. Okay, so thank you so much for that question. What type of content you can post? Well, there's two types of content you can post. Number one is engagement posts, and number two is value adding posts, which is strategic. So the engagement post is you not selling anything but your character. So if you're talking about traumatic experience that you recover from, a mental depression case that you recover from, or about losing your job and you were depressed, but somehow 5 years later you found a new job. So these stories is not promoting anything at all, but it's engagement stories that makes people connect with you because they trust your character, because you tell them a story that resonate with them. So they feel connected to you because there is common ground. So the other kind of content is value adding or strategic content. So value adding content, which also can carry a element of personal brand, is for the purpose of showcasing your talent, areas of expertise, depth of knowledge, business brand, services offerings, so tips and strategies that people can apply. So these are value adding content. They're very strategic to help and attract a community of people, which is your exact target audience. Okay, engagement post is never target audience. You're targeting people in the same situation on personal stories. It could be people who's a parent like you, who is living in the same country as you for no business reason. But the engagement is still important because it tells your character. And the people who are attracted to you because of your engagement post, these are the people who may not be your clients, but they're the people who recommend people in their network to use your service. Okay, and those people in the value adding who's got attracted to you because of your strategic post, these are most likely your prospect that can turn over into monetization. Okay, so Satish, why not 7 a.m. in the morning? If you're targeting your local community and 7 a.m. is where people are hustling and bustling to get to work, so people do not pay attention to social media. No one is going to chase for a bus, getting settled in an office, or getting up and rushing, getting kids ready before they go to work. 7 a.m. is a very, very unpredictable time where people can commit to give you attention. So of course you can try, and I'm pretty sure not everybody rush in the morning. So you could have a percentage of people who appreciate your content and invest time and focus at 7 a.m. to read what you post. But there is a higher chance that people actually read at 12. So what happened if in that day, if you already release a post at 7 a.m., which means you don't intend to release another post at 12 o'clock, what happened is by 12 o'clock, when people are really active on LinkedIn, your content, the one that you put at 7 a.m., has been drowned by thousands of content. Now, this is a saturated market we're talking about on LinkedIn, okay? Super saturated, that content are being put out literally every second. Okay, and in your country, if you are based, I'm not sure where you are based, in your country, if the population is high, a lot more professionals are working within the same hour, there's more content that's going to be drowned down. So for me, if you have to choose a perfect optimum time, 12 noon is my recommended work time if your target audience is operating in the same time zone as you. How to select content to write on LinkedIn. You don't select content to write on LinkedIn, you have to curate content to write on LinkedIn. So there is a specific questionnaire that I ask my client to talk about the things that bothers them or that impacts them. The questionnaire identify the things that impacts them for both in their business and personal capacity. And then after they did the questionnaire, we highlight the thing that could have become a story to tell, to inspire. And some things that they like to keep private, of course, I will not go there. But my clients, when they do this questionnaire, we pick up the topics they want to highlight, because if it impacts them and they don't mind impacting someone else with the same story without feeling too vulnerable, that is when we curate the content out of that and then showcase it on social media. Is it practical to have only 10% same industry, 90% strangers in our social media as friends? Now, how dependent are you on these people to actually give you business? Now, I get it. Your question is very good, because actually it's really hard to measure and hard to control. We cannot just kick off people, okay? Because we don't know really whether they could be a potential client. And some people may, like I said, may not look like a potential client, but there are people who know someone who needs our services. So we still want to keep them, right, in this 90%, because they are the people who we can continue to nurture about what we do and expert of, and then they can probably lead us to more clients by referral and recommendation. So we cannot say that they're completely useless in our network, okay? You never know what kind of business they can offer in the future. Okay, but what I want to say is the next step to doing this properly. So this is my other program where I actually help people hit 6 or 7 figure revenue using their personal brand on LinkedIn. So what we do is a slice and dice method. So what happened is, we're on LinkedIn is an open platform, okay, which means anybody can connect with anybody pretty much, and you have a great content. Even though they're not your friends, they are able to like you. Unlike Facebook, on Facebook personal page, right, your Facebook account, if you don't want people to really see what you post, you don't post. But on LinkedIn, everybody can actually react to your post. Okay, now they have a function that you can make certain posts private, but who does that? Okay, people go on B2B LinkedIn platform is so that they want more, they want the outreach for business opportunities. Okay, so on Facebook, we post kind of personal stories. So we like to keep some things private and we don't allow people outside our friend zone to see it. But on LinkedIn, it's pretty much open all the time. So therefore, we cannot control the people who react, who resonate with our content, whether they are really our target audience or not. We can only try our best by using the right keywords, hoping that more than half of the people are our target audience, but we cannot control that. So what we do is we need to have another backup. The other backup you should do is to establish a closed group. Now, this closed group can be a LinkedIn private group, Facebook community group, depends on the functions that you want, Telegram chat, WhatsApp group chat. So these are the people that you want to continue nurture that make sense to your business. So for me, right, I have 100 over 1,000 people on LinkedIn. Okay, but I have a Facebook community group that only has 800 people. And in that Facebook community group, I share nothing else but personal branding, which means tips, worksheets, do's and don'ts, strategies, videos about personal branding. So it's nothing about my personal story there. There was nothing about business there. It was just about personal branding, a very, very topic focused group. So what I do is I establish a niche market of people who are absolutely interested in personal branding, pull them out of LinkedIn, and then slice them off LinkedIn and park them in this closed community group. And I post often there because I want people to be educated about personal branding and, of course, remembering me as a personal branding expert. So to establish an impression. So the community is far smaller. So your percentage is not wrong at all. Okay, 10%, less than 20% of those people on LinkedIn is actually your exact target niche audience. But the problem with LinkedIn is if you don't have another channel where you park them exclusively as your niche community, when you post on LinkedIn, only 5% or less, okay, of your connections actually see your post at that particular time. So maybe when you post something good, something strategic about your business, maybe most of the crowd are coming from the 90%, not the 10% which sees the visibility of your post. But if you park them in a private group where you put content strategically for this people who are here anyway for that content, then they are the people you have 100% right target audience. So that's why you can sell things faster because it's a concentrated people who are there for that particular business content that you put out and services you offer. Okay, thank you so much. I hope I answered that question. Okay, so slice and dice method, because we call also dilution of network. So when you become a public figure at some point, also like me, my network is diluted. It's an inevitable process and an irreversible process. So it's been very hard for me in the last 1 year, because I have to spend that extra time to continuously slice and dice, to replace network, delete friends from 3 years ago who doesn't make any contact at all, replace them with new friends right now who's engaging with me in the last 5 posts. So it's a lot of work at the back end as a public figure to maintain a positive, okay, network, so that it doesn't dilute me terribly. Okay, question: what's the value ratio between the personal branding and company branding? Now, depends. Are you using personal branding and company branding on the same page? Now, a lot of people do that. Okay, they do both their company branding and personal branding on the same page. The ratio I want you to actually work with is 2:1. So when you do personal branding, it touches a lot more about your personal element. So it touches about your experience, words from you as a founder, or how you manage your team. So these should be against 2:1. So every two personal branding posts that you put out, which can also be about business or entirely about yourself, one should be about company branding. Now, company branding, right, when you showcase on a personal page, is not the same as company branding you showcase on a company page. Now, when you showcase a company branding on a personal page, you want to highlight progress, not activities. Okay, progress. So which means your company branding, let's say you're the founder of your company, right? So on your personal page, when you talk about company branding, you want to talk, oh, our company has successfully raised 6-figure digit from investments. Okay, our company is excited because next month we are penetrating into a new market. So you share progress. Okay, but on a company branding page itself, you share activities. So you can interview your employees and share about the experience working in a team in your company. You want to talk about 5 new clients who just joined in, or 5 new graduates who just graduated from a program. So you share activities. And your page, if you want to talk about company branding on your personal page, it should touch about company progress. Okay, and of course the ratio is 2:1. You don't want to talk about company progress all the way, because that doesn't resonate with people, especially people who don't have a size company like you, people who are not related to the industry as you are. So you need to take advantage 2:1. So 2 should be personal branding about what you think about business, your stories in the past, okay, something that people can learn about your character, your skills, and your competency. Company branding is about progress. Now, company branding on the company page should be about activities and progress. So yeah, okay. So that's the brief I can give right now. But obviously, if you need coaching for this, please let me know. Okay, I'm going to end off already. I think I answered more questions than I had anticipated. I answered the 4 questions on Instagram, so I'm gonna let them know as well that they can come back and watch this video. I wanna say thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to answer this last question before I log off. What if we do not own our company? What content is good is personal branding. So if you don't own your company and probably don't intend to, at least for now, you're focusing on growing your career in your industry. So if you're in a maritime industry, or in the supply chain industry, or in a specific other industry, retail and fashion. So I think what you need to do is showcase yourself, okay, by telling stories about what you do at work, what kind of decision you make, what kind of clients' testimonials have of you, all these things that can contribute to create an impression of you as an expert in your field. So if you're a manager of a fast food restaurant, okay, so, and I'm sure the job is not easy, there's things that you can share. So when you talk about this, you showcase yourself as somebody who's reputable, who's reliable, who's professional. And maybe you're not looking for a job right now, but you will attract hunters, okay, headhunters, or you might attract another company who's looking for someone to replace a position like yours. So you get job offers basically. Okay, so and you can choose not to, but Lisa, I'm not after a new job, I kind of love my job, it doesn't matter. Okay, you can always tell people, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not looking for a job at the moment. But that is a sign that you're building your personal branding really well. So when you feel that you do want to switch of career, you have established your personal brand very well, such that the people in the community that you attract as your connections, or people who are randomly hopping onto your page and read about you based on the content you put out for years or months, they have established an impression of you as somebody who is good in what you do for a living. So establishing that persona of expertise. Okay, so if you're, for example, a expert in digital marketing and you help your current company achieve 6 million figure sales as a digital marketing, using e-commerce. So these are what you showcase, okay, as your personal brand. And you may not want to take another job, but you never know. There could be somebody offering you much more than what you earn in the same capacity, and they offer you a lot more. It's because they've studied you for a while and realized based on the stories that you talk about your personal brand, tells them that you're an absolutely perfect person for the job that they're after, which is probably of higher responsibility, therefore higher pay, and they believe you can do it. Okay, thank you so much. I wish I can answer more, but I'm going to log out to run my errands. And therefore, I wish you guys have a very great Sunday. And I hope that if there's time in the future, I will come back and answer more questions. Personal branding is not as easy as you think it is. Okay, people think it's easy, but it is not. And if you're wondering why you're still not making money despite putting yourself out there, I think it's wise to actually get in touch with a professional coach to identify the things that you did not do. Most people could do 30% of what's required of personal branding, but actually the monetization part comes at the 70% of the work that you don't see other people doing, because the 70% of the work is usually in the back end. So thank you so much. Have a nice day. All the best with your personal branding efforts. If you still have any questions, jump on Instagram, follow me there, Lisa Kwang, and send me a questions. And maybe next time I'll answer it as well. So have a nice day, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.